Hi, and welcome to this manager briefing for the new My Journey. My name is Jessica Farley and I am the Head of Talent Development. And Mandy Morris will be joining me as well on this briefing, who is a HR consultant who has worked closely with us on this project. Welcome to the briefing on the new performance management process and your role in making the new process a success. We have redefined the purpose of performance management and renamed it as My Journey. So this is the name that you will see. My Journey links the steps we all take with our development and our career progression. These are the topics that we will go through today. Performance management can be a process that some employees and managers dread, and it can have more negative outcomes than positive. So we need to be clear on why we do this and what the benefits are to our employees, to talent, and to our customers. You as managers will lead the way in supporting this new approach within your own teams. My Journey is a way for you to unlock potential and high performance within your teams and deliver what the business needs. This briefing is the start of implementing this new process and setting you and your employees up for success. These are the key objectives for this session, to make sure that you are prepared and feel ready for the new process, which starts in April 2022. So, the objectives for the session: we will give you a detailed briefing on My Journey, explain the changes and the phased approach that we are taking, go through each of the new formats to help you to decide which format you'll need for your employees, metrics-based approach or objectives-based approach. Discuss the transition process from one process to another, which is from the old process to My Journey. We will clarify roles and responsibilities, and we will make sure that you are prepared for the new process, which starts in April 2022. This is the updated purpose. This will be available on Pulse in March, April 2022. In summary, My Journey will align individual contribution to the overall company performance and focus on development and career planning to build a high performance culture, which in turn supports excellent customer service. A key responsibility of being a manager is to deliver through your team by setting standards and holding your employees to account, as well as supporting their development and career aspirations. High performance within talent will obviously impact our customers. You will see that there is no direct link to pay in this purpose. Pay award decisions can be determined for a number of factors and different circumstances, depending on what the business can afford. Factors and influences for pay awards are likely to include performance, contribution, and value, behaviours, and current package relative to peers internally and the external market. Performance is a factor, but it is not the only factor. I will now hand over to Mandy.
We gathered feedback from a number of people across the business about performance management. Performance management is crucial in helping managers improve business performance by focusing employees, keeping them accountable, and supporting their development. But currently within talent, it is not seen as a critical business tool. It isn't a HR process, although HR does develop and facilitate the process, but it should be driven by managers and employees. The feedback we received on the current process was that there was no consensus over the purpose or value of performance management. It's seen as a tick box exercise done really for pay review, and people tended to do their reviews in July and August, even though in the current process you can do this within a 12-month period. There's only one process for all employees, and approximately at the moment about only 60% of employees have objectives. The HR systems are hard to use, and you can't access information once it's on the system. So in developing the new approach, we took the following things into account. Talent has a wide range of employees, so we wanted to make sure we had a process that was relevant for everyone. not a one-size-fits-all. The current HR systems have not made the process simple or easy to use. Some managers have some very large teams, so again, the process needs to be flexible. And there was feedback in the ED&I survey that some employees felt there is an unfairness in the current system, and this is mainly around the distribution of performance ratings. The changes we agreed with the executive team came from feedback from both the business and a review of best practice in the market. This is a long-term change process, and we have to be aware that my journey will not be perfect immediately, but we are moving in the right direction. We are doing this in a phased approach with an emphasis in 2022-23 on the quality of the conversation between the manager and the employee. This is the most important part of any performance management process. This is where you, as the manager, set expectations of standards, bring clarity to what your employees should be doing and how they should be doing them, as well as supporting their development and career aspirations. It is also an opportunity for you to ask what they need to be able to succeed and what you can do to help them. We have decided to use SharePoint forms during 2022-23 to simplify the recording of the conversations between the manager and employee. We will use these forms for the whole of the performance year. We don't want to change the process midway through the year. Performance management will be launched on the new HR system in 2023. The complications of using the current HR system will be removed and the process will be simpler and easier to use. We are introducing 2 formats for performance management so that you can choose the most relevant format for your employees. I'll go into more detail on this later in the briefing. The performance year will line up with the company financial year, April to March. Quite a lot of managers already link their team reviews and objectives to the financial year. Group objectives will be communicated at the beginning of the financial year so that we can link our individual objectives to deliver on company targets. There is flexibility for managers to do more reviews than the minimum we have suggested. Ratings have been simplified, and we will introduce a formal calibration process. The first time this happens will be in February 2023, at the end of the first full performance year. We will also introduce new values and behaviours which reflect our current culture. There will be more details on this in the next few weeks. The new process will start in April 2022, so we have some time to brief everyone, to start the training and prepare the guidance documents. 2022-23 will be a transition year in which we can become comfortable with the key elements of performance management and then build on that for 23-24 with a new HR system. So let's go into some of these points in a bit more detail. Phase 1 is focusing on the conversation between the manager and the employee, using SharePoint forms to capture information, simple and easy to use forms. We will be holding mandatory training sessions for all managers to focus on the key skills needed to have a quality conversation. This training session will start with the executive team and then cascade down. We are expecting all managers to attend these training programs. We're introducing new values and behaviours which reflect talent's culture. We will build on this approach towards the end of 22-23 by launching career frameworks and moving to a new online system for 2023. We will review the possibility of introducing a 360 and team review process for the 2023-24 performance year. Feedback that we received from the business included the majority of people we spoke to liked the linked behaviours and agreed that how is as important as the what. So how people work is as important as what they do and how they deliver. But the current behaviours definitions framework were not seen as relevant or useful. So this is why we're introducing new values and behaviours this year. Lots of people said they wanted to use more 360 feedback, especially when someone has worked on a project team. So we'll be looking at that with a new system in 2023. And most people said that career frameworks would be useful, and these are being worked on. Many of you already do this, but we are formalising the performance year to start in April and end in March the following year to mirror the financial year. We will align objectives to overall group objectives that will be cascaded at the beginning of the financial year. This means we will all be focused on what the company needs that year. The executive team will agree the group objectives and will communicate them in April. Individuals can still have personal or development objectives. This gives more structure and focus to the process as it links individual performance and achievement directly with company performance and achievement. Employees will have a tangible view of how their own performance has impacted business performance. Assessment of both employee and company are done at the same time, and then the focus is reset for the next financial year. So again, feedback from the business was that the current approach lets managers do reviews any time within the 12 months of the last review, but managers mainly squeeze them all into July and August rather than spread them all out over the year. There was overall support for objectives to be cascaded from group objectives and the process to be aligned to the financial year. Feedback from the business on your performance ratings was that the current rating matrix is overly complicated. So we have simplified this to 5 performance levels. We have defined expectations for each level in more detail to help managers and employees understand each level, and these descriptions will be available for everyone. The too soon to assess level is for people who have joined Telent within the previous 3 months. If someone has moved roles recently, their performance level will be based mainly on their previous role, and their previous manager will be involved in assessing their performance level. To make the distribution of performance levels consistent across the business, we are introducing a formal calibration process. The first time this is done will be February-March 2023, at the end of the first full new performance year. The key reasons for introducing calibration across the business is to make this process more open, transparent, consistent and simple. Calibration sessions will be facilitated by HR, and managers will work with their peers to agree proposed performance levels across their teams or departments, the function and the business unit. This process cascades upwards to the CEO and her direct reports. This process will ensure that the distribution of ratings is a more open and transparent process, which will help managers when there are pushbacks from individuals who disagree with their performance level. Calibration will only happen once in the year before the end of year review, so that managers are comfortable going into the end of year review, knowing that the performance level they are considering giving fits within the agreed framework, and they can confirm this with the employee at the end of the meeting. Managers can obviously change their mind in the review if they find anything that they were not expecting. This is better than doing calibration after the review meeting, when managers give an indication of performance levels, they may have to go back to the employees to change their performance level. Managers can give indication of performance levels during the year, but the formal process will happen at the end of the performance year. Employees want to feel there is transparency in this process, and this was a topic that was highlighted as an area of concern in the ED&I survey. So again, feedback from the business were that ratings were applied inconsistently across the business and that the scoring was overly complicated. The process is manager-led, and employees' opinion is not captured and is not reviewed for quality and consistency by senior managers. This is the annual cycle. We wanted to have a process that is flexible and relevant for individuals. So we are introducing 2 different formats, one for roles that are managed by objectives and one for roles that are managed by metrics. You can have personal objectives in the metrics one as well. We are also making this flexible for managers. Feedback we received from the business made it clear that just having one format would not suit the breadth of employees that Telent has, and the aim of these formats is to be simple and relevant for each individual. If your role is not measured by objectives but is measured by metrics, for example, field operations, examples of metrics could be on health and safety compliance, absence and timekeeping, or THP targets, or an assistant role that is focused on the delivery of tasks more than objectives, then the metrics-based approach will be more relevant. We will go into things you can consider when deciding which format to use for employees. We also understand that some teams are very large, and asking managers to do multiple reviews in the year would be too difficult. So we have set minimum numbers for each format. The objectives-based approach will have a minimum of 2 review meetings a year and have a development plan. The metrics-based approach will have a minimum of 1 review meeting a year, with the development plan being optional. Managers can do more than the minimum number of reviews. All employees will be expected to have objectives or metrics agreed at the beginning of the year, which is in April and May. All employees will have an end of year review, and this would be in March to May. This may be the only review meeting for some people using the metrics-based approach, and all employees will be included in the calibration process. This is not a HR-driven process and will be driven by both the manager and the employee. Everyone will need to make sure that they are prepared for each meeting and take accountability for their own level of performance. For project-based roles, it will be useful to do a review at the end of each project. So this is how to decide which format to choose for your employees. How do you make that choice? The metrics-based approach has been designed to be more relevant for roles that are more short-term task-focused. For example, roles within field operations, where potentially the whole team can be measured on areas such as health and safety compliance, timekeeping, attendance, and THP targets, if that's relevant. Assistant roles could be measured on things such as the same tasks that are delivered frequently. Examples could be number of cases closed, number of contracts delivered. The objectives-based approach has been designed for roles that are measured in individual achievement of objectives, delivery of project-based goals over a specific period of time. Richard Giddings will decide on the format to use for graduates and apprentices at the beginning of their year. Let me now briefly take you through the 2 formats so you can see the difference. Please bear in mind that these forms are with the SharePoint developers, so may change slightly once they are finalised. So I'm just going to move away from the PowerPoint presentation into a couple of Word documents. So the first one we'll look at is the metrics-based performance review, and we're going to send this to you. This is like a dummy form. We'll send this to you after this session so that people can actually see the document, and this will be available on Pulse. So this is the format of the form, and I've just put little comments on the form that you can go through to sort of indicate what should go where. So we're saying that we would like the employee to lead on this with the manager. The document will be available on Pulse in March, and there will be some other guidance notes as well. So the metrics-based form is very simple. It has a number of different sections. Review dates can be put here. These are the metrics that you can agree. These are just examples that we've put in, but you can use them if you feel they're relevant for you, or you could put your own ones in. And then the measure will be the same as the performance levels that we'll be using for the objectives. We've put in sections for comments, both from the manager and the employee. If you feel that it's relevant or your employee wants to have objectives, you can put some personal objectives here for them. And then there are a number of sections for you and your employee to discuss. And these are the notes that you will make during the meeting or at the end of the meeting. So the sections are improvements, behaviours, recognition, other topics that might come up that are not captured in any of the sections above, what you would like your employee to focus on for the next period. So be very clear on what you're expecting in this next period. And then a conversation about development, again, if that's relevant for you and your employee, when you're next going to give the review. And then the performance level for the overall year's performance. This will only be done formally at the end of the performance year. And then there's some fields for comments from your employee and from you for the overall year. We'll just move to the objectives-based approach. This looks slightly different. we're linking obviously objectives into the group objectives that will be coming out in April. There's some information on how to use the form with the different sections. So setting objectives, development plan, values and behaviours, the mid-year review and the end-of-year review. So these are all captured in different sections. Agreed objectives, which obviously should be SMART. We've got a development plan framework. We've got the values and behaviours. Now, at the moment, this includes our current behaviours, but as I said earlier, we are introducing new values and behaviours in the next few weeks, so this will change, but this is just here at the moment, just as an example. And then this is about the review meetings where you can capture your comments. If you decide you want to do more than 1 or 2 reviews in the year, all you need to do is just cut and paste the table and move it into the section at the bottom of the document. So let me go back to the presentation. So the communication timeline. Managers' briefings will happen from February to March. We want to make sure that everybody is briefed. Employees were briefed very briefly in the roadshow in February. The manager training programme will be available from April onwards. Pulse will be updated with guidance and how-to documents in March, and the SharePoint forms will also be available from March. So what do you need to think about in the transition between the current performance management process and My Journey? We're not expecting you to suddenly do lots of reviews for your employees, and we'll leave this to your discretion, but just a couple of points you might want to consider. If you have an employee who's had a review a few months ago, and they may be using the metrics-based approach, potentially they will not have a review until March 2023. That's probably too long without a review, so you might want to consider an interim review during 2022, and then the end-of-year review in March 2023. And then the other thing to consider is if you've already set objectives for your employees, for your team, you probably have to review them once the group objectives have been communicated in April to make sure that they're aligned. So that, again, the new process starts in April 2022. Let me just hand back to Jess now.
This is a change process for everyone, and so it will take a bit of time to make sure that this is a smooth process that is just part of how you manage your employees on a day-to-day basis. We will be supporting this change with briefings, guidance and training, and ask that you as managers also support this change and ensure that your own managers attend briefings and trainings too. We are developing multiple materials to help you with this, whatever your learning style. We've said that this is a change process. This is the change curve, and many of you will have seen this or may have seen this. In case you haven't, it is a standard model for feelings and behaviours that people go through when dealing with change. It was developed out of work done on bereavement. Neuroscience tells us that the brain doesn't like change, and we all go through this curve in all change situations. The speed of how you get through the curve may vary between individuals and also situations. Being attentive to the emotional stage each individual is experiencing and adjusting your support accordingly can help them to navigate the change more easily. You could also go backwards along the curve. It is worth understanding this curve for your employees, but also for yourself. It is normal that you will feel these things, and it is normal that your employees may exhibit some of these behaviours in any change situation. Understanding this process will help you lead change with your employees. It is really common for managers to pitch their communications at the level where they currently sit on the change curve. If you want more information about how to manage change, we do offer 2 half-day modules, one on managing change as a line manager and one on navigating change as an individual. The introduction of the new performance management process is a change to how we do things for you and your employee. Explain why this change is being made. understand and hear any concerns, as well as setting expectations and planning for the change. Experiment with it and learn together with two-way feedback and recognition of the new way. It is more than just a process change for performance management. It is an opportunity to shape the culture of talent, to support team working, inclusion, and greater success. And you have an important role to play in this change. There is no such thing as too much communication when you are going through change. Communicate frequently, even when you don't think there is much to say. Employees want the reassurance that you are focusing on them as well as sharing any information you can. Some people take longer to accept change than others. There is no right or wrong in timescales. You may consider that introducing a new performance management process is not such a big deal, but for others it may be. Employees are being told they have to meet with their managers, possibly more frequently, to discuss performance. They are being told they have to take accountability for their own development and performance levels, that they have to demonstrate company values and behaviours. Not all of these things will worry people, but it is your role to guide and help them through any areas of concern. And at the same time, deal with any of your own concerns with this change. This is for you to discuss with your own manager. We talked earlier about why we made this change and the feedback that we got from the business. What tangible difference can My Journey make to you, to your employees, and to talent? We know that My Journey will drive commercial performance and can change the culture of the organisation, and you are crucial to make that happen. We all know that recruitment costs in time and money are high, and that skills are scarce within our industry. So if we can retain and develop our own talent, this will help reduce those costs and fill the skills gap. Results from our recent engagement survey show that employees do not feel they are getting enough feedback and development from their managers. They also highlighted a lack of understanding between what they are doing as individuals and how this is contributing to the overall goals for talent. Think about your own previous managers. Which one made the difference to you and your career? What did they do? How did they encourage you to take control of your own career? My Journey is fully supported by the executive team, and they understand the importance of the role of the manager. What difference can you make by supporting and engaging with My Journey? You are key to making this process a success for you and your employees. We have listed some practical steps for you to do in the next few weeks and at the start of the new process. Let me highlight a few of them. Choose the format that is relevant for employees within your team. Will this be metrics or objectives? Decide on the metric measures you will use. Set up a time to discuss objectives or metrics with your employees. Set yourself up for success by attending the training session. If you have managers in your team, encourage them to attend the training sessions too. And remember that My Journey is a key business process. In the background, we are getting everything ready, including documentation, training, and the SharePoint solution to help us with this. Thank you again in advance of your support for this change and helping us to land this across the business. Thank you.